So the CEO of Ram has said they want a mid-sized truck. Well, duh. This news is actually coming from Motor One. They had a chance to talk to the CEO of Ram at the Detroit Auto Show and asked him about whether he wanted a mid-sized truck. And to absolutely nobody's surprise, he said yes, but there's a little bit of interesting, let's say, intonation in what happened here. The first is the article actually points out the enthusiasm with which he was actually speaking, but he says this quote, "Everything is more expensive. Trucks are way more expensive. Bread goes up, you still got to buy it, right? Trucks go up, you start looking for alternatives. I used to have a price point alternative with the Ram Classic. I don't have that anymore." Now, a little bit of context. Tim retired, and then when Tavares resigned, Tim got drugged back in to be the CEO of Ram. And later on, at the end of this article, he has another quote, which was interesting. They pressed him for more information, but then they said, "The sparkle in his eyes, however, suggests something is definitely in the works," with a quote, "Wouldn't it be great if I had a midsize that was an awesome, capable truck to fill that gap? Yeah, I'd love to have one." So there's a lot to unpack here, actually, in those two really small quotes. The first is, I've been talking about this for 5 years now, and it is absolutely beyond me that Ram doesn't have a mid-sized truck. They're a truck company. In fact, they were spun off of Dodge to be the truck company and also to take them more global. But then they don't give them the product they need. In fact, Fiat Chrysler created the Gladiator, but didn't give Ram the option to gussy it up into a Ram. Even if it would be a bad Ram truck, they would have at least had an option in the market. And this is a place in the market where it's got to be lucrative. You've got Ford, you've got General Motors with 2 different trucks right there. You've got Toyota, of course, with the Tacoma. Nissan has the Frontier, and heck, you could even say that Honda is playing in this space with the Ridgeline. And Dodge has nothing. Of all of the problems with FCA and now Stellantis, taking cars away from Dodge, but not giving them any SUVs to sell, to me, the midsize truck is the example of their incompetence and not understanding the market they're playing in here in North America. It's really frustrating, but they had a midsize trucks 13, 14 years ago. Sure, I'm sure they're working on it. No, they're not. Except it sounds like they might be, and the question we all have is, what the heck has been the delay? Now, they bring up the question of where would the truck come from? Well, you have to have a platform. One thing they could do is cut down the Ram chassis. I don't think that's likely. That's partly what doomed the Dakota and midsize trucks before. They were using shorter, smaller, but still expensive chassis, and it made them just not that much more price competitive than just buying a full-size truck. Now, Stellantis has a whole variety of trucks available around the world. They have the Rampage down in Mexico, not the Rampage we're going to see here, which is a smaller, more competitive with the Maverick. I've been talking for 5 years. They should be bringing something like that here. There has to be a business case for it. Admittedly, if the safety and emissions can be met, it should be here already because there's only the Maverick and then the Hyundai to compete against. They would instantly have a very small competition pool to be playing in. But in the mid-size category, it gets really interesting. But Ram has options around the world. In Mexico, they sell the Ram 1200, a trucky truck midsize, which is itself a rebadge of the Fiat Titano, which is sold in Brazil, which is itself a rebadge of the Peugeot Landtrek, which is, wait for this, a joint venture with Changang Automobile, and they sell the F70. So they have a worldwide presence with a mid-sized truck, but it is sold in like Latin America and developing countries and China. Obviously, it was not built for Western European or American standards. And I get that. It might be too much to bring it up to the standards to sell it here in America. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's what he's talking about, is they can refresh this, put a different engine in it, and have something. But it begs the question, why not? If they were doing this, and this truck came out in 2019, okay? Knowing the American market, how could they design a mid-sized truck and not take into account American sensibilities, our safety standards, and our emission standards? So, the good news is they're dropping hints, and interestingly, the Chrysler CEO is doing the same thing. They're talking about they're going to have a car next year and then the year after that, I believe. And it's going to be nothing like we've seen. Any of the show cars they've had, they're not going to look like that. So they're promising new product. Sounds like the Ram guy is doing the same thing. Hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we're going to be having a mid-sized truck. We don't know when, we don't know what it's going to be, how much it's going to cost, or what it's going to be based on. But it does sound like they're working on it, which I think is great news. It just leaves the question of, what the heck took y'all so long? You and I are not in the auto industry, I'm assuming, but I can look at the market and see that truck crazy America, when you've got the Colorado, the Canyon, the Ranger, the Frontier, and the Tacoma, why is one of the biggest automakers in the world that claims they want to play in the American market not bringing a product here? It's another example of absolutely the brain dead product planning that they have had. So as I find out more, I'll share it with you. But for now, I'm kind of excited for the options. Let's put it that way. And I think that Ram should come here with two. If they're going to come back and they need to increase their sales, which they do, they need a mid-sized truck and they need a smaller truck to take away sales from the Maverick. It sounds like maybe somebody at Ram is finally listening. Thanks for being here, y'all.